The Vietnam War, one of the most controversial conflicts of the 20th century. Was it a fight for national liberation or a deadly proxy war between global superpowers? To understand, we must go back to the roots of Vietnam's struggle. For nearly a century, Vietnam endured French colonial rule. Resources were drained and people were oppressed, but the seeds of resistance were already sprouting. Enter Ho Chi Minh, a young nationalist inspired by the winds of revolution in Europe. In 1945, after World War II, Japan's surrender left Vietnam vulnerable. Ho Chi Minh seized the moment, declaring independence with the famous words, "All men are created equal." But the dream of freedom was short-lived. The French returned, refusing to let go of their prized colony. What followed was the brutal First Indochina War, culminating in the historic Battle of Dien Bien Phu in 1954. Against all odds, Vietnamese forces triumphed. The Geneva Accords ended French rule, but Vietnam was split in two: Communist North led by Ho Chi Minh and anti-Communist South backed by the United States. This division would ignite one of the bloodiest wars of modern history. The stage was set. But was this a fight for Vietnam's independence? With Vietnam divided, the Cold War powers took center stage. The Communist North allied with China and the Soviet Union. The South became a fortress for the US. But how did this escalate into full-scale war? In the 1950s, the US feared that if one country fell to communism, others would follow. This domino theory became their justification to support South Vietnam and later to send troops. In 1964, the Gulf of Tonkin Incident changed everything. North Vietnamese forces allegedly attacked US ships. This was the spark America needed to launch a full-scale war. But was it real, or a pretext fabricated to justify intervention? The war was brutal. For the Vietnamese, it was a fight for unification and freedom. For the US, it was a battle against communism. But for the people, it was a nightmare of bombs, destruction, and loss. In 1968, the North launched the Tet Offensive, shocking the world. Though a military failure for the North, it shattered the US's confidence. Protests erupted back home, questioning America's role in this war. In 1975, the war ended with the fall of Saigon. Vietnam was united, but at what cost? Millions of lives were lost, and the scars remain. Was it truly a fight for Vietnam's freedom, or a battleground for global ideologies? The answer may depend on who tells the story. The Vietnam War, a story of freedom, ideology, and the price of conflict. Click on the video on screen to watch part 1.